Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I do need to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, HaKadosh, the Barnes, the Apostles, and Ellsbury Millstone, for teaching us truth, peace, and blessings. To the hope like Rizal, Yahweh is the name of the Unfallen in Hebrew, Ba'Hashem is the name, Yahweh Shai is the name of the begotten Son. Back in the lesson, and I'm going to be going to the news as regarding the situation dealing with ICE once again taking out another person. And this was, actually pretty recent. So we're going to be, blowing the trumpet, sound the alarm, going into the news, as well as, get various scriptures of the type of times that we are in and the chaos that's getting ready to erupt. Because I was originally going to title this lesson, chaos, it was meaning to happen. But I think I'm just, title it, ICE, back at it again. Pretty much deleting another person. But we're reading a little bit into this article, and there's also various other videos coming out regarding, the shooting that took place, as why it happened. Which they, try to say that he pulled out a gun and, try to take them out. Yet there was, I believe, roughly 7 people on one dude. And I believe they even, stripped and took away, his weapon, and then shot him down. There was a video that came out after the situation. You had one of these ICE agents, trying to look and find the gun that was on the person. You hear the words come out of his mouth, say, "Where's the gun?" And I believe they even, full on dipped, fled from the situation. So just going to show chaos and great trouble is ahead. As you can especially see, they're able to get away with things like this. Don't be surprised when you see other situations like this take place, as we've been saying. I made a lesson going to, I believe I made a point in one of my lessons, regarding, these, uproars of people that we are seeing, these protests are being held, and these ICE agents pretty much having full reign to do whatever they want. Something is getting ready to pop off. Something is meaning to happen. And we said, you're most definitely going to see a lot more, shootings, as you saw dealing with that. I believe that one woman's name was Renee or something, where she was taken out, and you saw what, transpired that same day. People fled to the streets, protests being held. And I believe this is now the third shooting, which will be the second one. Wasn't a super fatal one, but I believe that person was injured, and now you're seeing a second death from once again another ICE shooting, and you already see how high these tensions are. And we've said you're going to see these situations escalate. You're going to see more situations, like this take place, and where you're going to have a lot of people just be fed up. You're going to strike back, which is obviously not going to do any good, because that's just, adding fuel to the fire and really, giving this devil what he wants. But you can read this article, get a couple scriptures, and I'll be the points dive into it. But this 37-year-old U.S. citizen shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis, and I'm not sure if I'm able to play the video, but it's all over the news, TikTok, Twitter, etc. But you also have people that's in support of ICE, especially in regarding this situation. You had people that are saying, well, if he didn't resist, this wouldn't have happened. And it was this and that, and, just, pushing that point across, and people are in support of these things and are right with everything that's, transpired and taken place. And you also have people that are clearly against it. So this is going to cause a lot more friction, division, and chaos is getting ready to ensue. Erupt. So don't be surprised if once again, more situations, come from this. Which I was gonna say, it just adds, fuel to the fire, which it most definitely is, because you saw with the first situation dealing with that one woman that got taken out, and I believe these were, 2 American citizens that got taken out. So you know, imagine what happens when Jake is next. But Jake is really the main target, the forefront of this attack. You are the focal point. We're in the midst of Jacob's trouble. It's in Jeremiah 30:7. You're the target. So it's also why it's important to seek the Lord, to be under the hedge and protection of Yahweh Bashmal Shai. Because these chaotic times are fastly approaching. Really, we're in now. But as this fatal shooting come less than 3 weeks after Renee Good, right there you go, I got the first name right. Renee Good was killed by a federal immigration agent in city. Minneapolis shooting live updates, and this is going to other articles. But the U.S. federal law enforcement officers on Saturday fatally shot an American citizen in Minneapolis for the second time in less than 3 weeks. Saturday morning killings of U.S. citizen Alex Preddy, 37, come after. So there you go, U.S. citizen. So further on, so they don't even care about their own people. It really, they are, what I'm looking for, looking for blood. As a matter of fact, you had another video come out of after he got shot down. You had one of these ICE agents begin to clap, pretty much jumping up and down, applauding what just happened. So you're going to show the type of spirit that these people are coming in. Actually, one of the scripts that came to mind was going to how should be like madmen sparing none. So you're obviously see once in situations escalate even further. This is going to add more fuel to the fire, where people are just going to begin to what I'm looking for. I want to say act out more, for lack of better words. But, people are going to begin to... There's a certain word I'm looking for. But what's this is going to escalate things even more. Tensions are going to, further rise. Because as I just made that point, done with the first situation with Renee Good, literally the day of, people took to the streets. Don't be surprised to see more things come from this. And I think you have National Guard troops pretty much staged or on standby. So I'll post going to that. So more things are getting ready to happen. We've been saying this. But it says also 37-year-old American citizen was shot to death on 7th January by a federal agent officer in Minneapolis. Video showing her trying to drive away from a confrontation sparking protests nationwide. And I believe there is actually some footage of massive protests over in Minnesota, which has not been on the news nor televised. But this is a city and local police officials said in their statement, Preddy shooting was in the area of the West 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue. If it asked the public to remain calm, which is obviously not going to, happen. Get a quick drink. But, as you get throughout the scriptures, it's biblical prophecy that you would see, uproars of the people in the world, that you would see, great division take place, especially doing Isaiah 19:2, dealing with, civil war, which you're getting ready to see, because you have people, saying that they pretty much want to take up arms. They're sick and tired of the government. Because as you see, they're pretty much, these guys are getting full reign. Just seen a video where they had Bobcat, I believe that's what it's called, kind of like those, SWAT-like vehicles you see, heavily armored, all type of stuff. So you see they're getting heavily funded, and pretty much, not even a slap on the wrist, get away with pretty much anything, as you've seen with this situation, where they have said to have fled the scene. What police officers you see, pretty much able to do that. But you see a lot of these police officers, do a lot of dumb stuff, take out people also. But, at least you see them, what I'm looking for. I don't want to say held responsible, because a lot of times you also see they get a slap on the wrist. Just going, trying to push that point of, just the difference. Because usually you don't see things like that happen where you see them shoot someone down and just, completely, flee the scene. You don't know their name, information of their whereabouts. But police officers, that's kind of a different case where you know their name, badge, and all that type of stuff. So it was I kind of articulated that better. Just wanted to push that point across of how they're able to pretty much get away with anything. This shooting that took place with Renee Good. And I don't know much about that second shooting, but I know there was a second one. And I've seen a third one where they literally fled the scene. They shoot someone down and get away scot-free. And I want to say the mayor, or I forget exactly who, but pretty much said, which actually I'm gonna go get the video for it. Which this is the video I don't think it's the exact video I was talking about, but further, pushing that point as I was, speaking of. Plays real quick.
I don't know. You kill a man and then you just leave. Your law enforcement, you just leave. Is there a single case in American history where you just walk away and say,
Right there, which was this video.
Case in American history where you just walk away and say, I guess that just happened.
So yeah, it was a Minnesota governor. So I got the title incorrect.
And we're not going to clean up our mess. I'm proud of Minnesotans. I'm proud of law enforcement here and our partners.
Right, there you go. And I'll just read off what he says. You kill a man and you just leave. You're law enforcement, you just leave. Is there a single case in American history where you just walk away and say, I guess that just happened and we're not going to clean up our mess? So it's further going to show the type of times that we are in, especially the spirit that these people are walking in, man. So why you get in the scriptures in the Matthew 24:12. The love of many is waxing cold. It says, I have trouble watching these videos. Did they just leave the man's body lifeless on the street? Surely no human would actually do that. And that's, the point I was pretty much, going into. It's not something that you would usually see. And as in this case, these ICE agents just fled the scene. Dipped. Full on. And no one knows their names. They don't have badges. Nothing to identify, pretty much, who they are. So that's why I was kind of making that point, with at least with the police force, you kind of somewhat, have an idea in there. At the very least, held accountable to a slight degree. But even then, really, they just get a slap on the wrist. But I was just trying to make that point, showing the difference. Because even the person, the governor, said within this video, like what are they doing? You kill a man and you just leave? And it says, is there a single case in American history where you just walk away and say, I guess that just happened and we're not going to clean up our mess? So it's further pushing that point across, not something that you would usually see. So I articulate that properly. But that's right there. Read a little bit more and we'll get into your scriptures. It says he wanted to help people. Said Dimitri Dracondra, chief of infectious disease at the VA hospital and professor of medicine at the University of Minnesota, who worked with Preddy at the hospital on a research project. He was super nice and super helpful guy. Looked after his patients. I'm just stunned. So this is obviously going to cause a lot of friction, a lot of bad blood. Isaiah 19:2. Starting off with the G and T, and it says, the Lord says, I will stir up civil war in Egypt and turn brother against brother and neighbor against neighbor. Rival cities will fight each other and rival kings will struggle for power. Because you also have people in these, leadership like positions, pretty much going against Trump. Things that he's doing, these ICE agents, trying to hinder that. And I believe even Trump, came out and pretty much strong-armed these people that are doing those things, saying that if you continue to pretty much rebel, not listen, not do the things that he wants to do, that he would, I believe he also threatened to declare, invoke the Insurrection Act, because the devil wants total control. But you are seeing what's in a great division taking place. And once in the times that we are in are crystal clear. These are some exciting as well as terrifying times. Our reason one more time from my top, the Lord says, I will stir up civil war in Egypt. This is biblical prophecy. And turn brother against brother and neighbor against neighbor. And it's not speaking of ancient Egypt. You can also get in Revelation's 11th chapter, going to Babylon, the Great aka America, being spiritually Sodom and Egypt. But the rival cities will fight each other and rival kings will struggle for power. Got a couple more. This is Psalm 17:13. Arise the Lord, disappoint him, cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. And the Lord's going to be swinging this devil as that sword. Speaking of Esau, Edom, Malachi 1:4, who's that wicked? Speaking of Esau. He's literally labeled and called the border of wickedness. So showing you who this is speaking of. As well as you can look at Genesis 27:39-40. These people. But going into his blessing, which is the fatness of the earth as well as the sword. Got a couple more. 2 Kings 15:14-17 says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Or some on his sword, the gun, these weapons. So don't be surprised when you see a lot of people begin to, carry and actually use. Which I believe you had, videos coming out, over there in Florida. And I forgot the other location, but pretty much have a stand your ground law. And you had pretty much people debating that. So you also have talks of these ICE agents going door to door. So listen, don't be surprised when you see more situations like this, or if not similar, pop off. Or you may have a shootout breakout. People retaliating. And listen, this is just going to further, give this devil the ammo he needs to be justified, and really, tighten that grip, laying rounds into you, declaring martial law. But verse 16, for there should be sedition among men. That word sedition goes to riot/rebellion among men, and invading one another shall regard their kings nor princes, which today would be your, people in power, presidents, mayors, governors, etc. And the courts shall stand in their power. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into the city shall not be able. Shutting this place down, lockdowns, martial law. These things you're getting ready to see. Matthew 12:25, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. So we're really seeing the fall of this place. This is going to widen the gap that the people have, for this place, the people in power, even further, as well as against each other. Made a point earlier, we have people in support of things ICE is doing, Trump is doing, and people that are also clearly against it. So that fan, or not that fan, that flame is being fanned. If you know anything about a flame being fanned or, pretty much being blown on, given oxygen, that flame, that fire grows bigger. So a lot more things are going to pop up. And these are things we've been saying through the Spirit. They're going to see a lot more situations where this, took place. And really, the things to come, especially dealing with the scriptures. Ezra 16:30 and 71. They should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Which I brought that point earlier. 300 times more times. They should be like madmen, sparing none. So further going to show the times we are in and are especially coming into. And once again, you Israelites, you Jakes, are really the forefront of this attack, the focal point, the main target. As you have a target. What's the main point people try to hit? The red dot, the thing in the middle, and that's you Jakes, man. Scripture going to, which you get in Jeremiah 37, the time of Jacob's trouble, which I actually have right here. And it says, in the last 5 days, great flood, none is like it. It's even a time of Jacob's trouble. We're in the time of Jacob's trouble. It says Jacob's trouble for a reason, the time of our trouble. And really specifically for the wicked of our people, but those in his faith and his truth will also be tried, will be tested. So though, you've seen these situations happen with two Edomites, two American, U.S. citizens. This is to their own people. So imagine the thing they'd be doing to Jake. Israelites, which they bear a perpetual hatred towards. And really, you've been seeing, various situations, popping off, dealing with Jake, and these agents. Really it being, the agents on, Jake, tackling them down and doing all sorts of, wicked things. But once you're going to see a lot more things being to pop off, as you now have National Guard troops pretty much being, stationed, staged, or on standby, however you want to say it. And I believe I made a lesson. I don't know if I titled it, but something is meaning to happen. Something's getting ready to pop off. Whether maybe this situation, if not, the things that come from it. We have to see. But let's continue on to get a couple more. The 2 Timothy 3 verse 1 says this, now also in the last days perilous times shall come. Those are, translation go to difficult, troublesome, terrible times. Habakkuk 2 and 3. And what's in this situation right here is going to further, widen the gap of the trust that people have in this place, which is want to further solidify the feelings or hate that they have towards these things. But Habakkuk 2 and 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but then shall speak and not lie, though tarry, wait for it, make surely come, it will not tarry. So these things will happen, will come to pass, and we're in these appointed times as written and spoken within the scriptures. So that's the point. I want to make a lesson regarding this situation, because you're most definitely see a lot more things we can see pop off, which we have been saying. Do the Spirit probably how Bashmel starting off with that Renee Good situation, and we said more is going to come. Because something is meaning to happen, and this is going to cause more friction, division in the air, and really just as I said earlier, fan that flame that's already beginning to blaze. So we have to exactly see what transpires, what plays out. But once in, this is going to further, agitate, these people, even more. But quote was made, Lord's will let's edify and close out. Give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Shem, Shabbat, Shem, Kakadash, and Shalom. See you next one, Lord's will.